Oh, you two people, what is going on? The Topps NBA debut patch, much ballyhooed, much talked about, much discussed. What if I told you, or what if Ben Burrows from Collect told you, that he wore not one, not two, but three NBA debut patches in his first game? And Topps had to destroy some. Shout out to Ben for the article. I will try to remember to link to it down below, or you could find it over on Collect. Topps destroys additional debut patches worn by Cooper Flagg. Here is the key line right here. Topps confirmed to Collect that Flagg wore three separate debut patches against the Spurs on Wednesday, and the company plans to use the first patch worn. The two additional patches have been destroyed. Now, the speculation here is by Ben, and just logically thinking about this, it makes sense that in the NBA and the NFL, to be quite frank, unlike MLB baseball, in a lot of cases, the players swap jerseys, especially at halftime. They will switch into a different jersey. There's a bunch of different reasons why they do that. One, it just creates more game-used material. But beyond even just the hobby side of things and the collectible side of things, there are a ton of different reasons why they swap jerseys at half. And each of the jerseys that he wore, and apparently in this case it must have been three, had the debut patch on it. And in the article, Ben mentions that Collect confirms that through analyzing the jerseys, you could tell that the jerseys were different. How they do that is beyond me, but you could do photo matching and things like that, where patches are in slightly different places and stitches look a little bit different and all this random nonsense. So it's not like him wearing three is not crazy. They are destroying the other two, and this is, like I said, potentially a unique case to basketball and potentially football. What do you do if the player needs to swap the jersey? It's, the patch that they chose was the one that he wore at the beginning of the game. So there's nothing nefarious here. The patch was worn during his debut game. And if the multiples get destroyed, but is there a better way? The patches are essentially, I don't know how they're attached, but they're basically almost like a sticker or an iron-on. I don't know exactly how they're put on, but they're designed that they can be placed on the jersey and then easily removed from the jersey. That way, the jersey itself for their debut game stays intact. They don't have to cut up the actual debut jersey to get the patch off of it. It's a pretty unique idea. There was an issue a few weeks ago where a MLB patch fell off. You could see it on their arm when they were warming up in the bullpen, and when they got into the game, it had fallen off somewhere en route. The patch was recovered, and I believe Topps said that they would note on the back of the card that there was something unique about that one. There's been instances where people saw them kind of peeling off at the corners. This also begs the question, so this was found out with Cooper Flagg, has this happened with any other NBA players? I can't imagine Cooper was the only one to have this happen. Now, I don't know that for sure. That's just 100% me throwing stuff out there, but I don't think it's that big of a logic leap that this could have potentially impacted other players. So the question now is, does the secondary market, do people care? The patch was worn. The patch was worn during his debut game. In this case, it was probably worn for the first half. There is nothing that says that the patch has to be worn for the entire game or anything like that, but I bet there is some assumptions made. Now, once again, on the baseball side of the world, this is much easier to keep track of. Players aren't switching out their jerseys left, right, and center in a Major League Baseball game like they are some of the other sports. And once again, we don't know that that is exactly what happened here. That is an assumption. They put that in the article down here. It's unclear why Flagg wore additional jerseys. One explanation was the swap jerseys, which does make sense. That is a thing that happens, so that's not that big of a stretch. Now, ultimately, is this going to matter? Is this thing still going to sell for $1 bajillion once it gets found? Probably. But let's be honest, how many people are even going to remember by the time that this comes out that this was even a thing? It is nice to see that Topps has at least some protocol in place for this, for the destruction of the extra 2 patches. And it'll be interesting to see if they make any changes going forward to see if there is a better way to either transfer the patch, but then that probably makes it more likely that it falls off. But if there's something that they could do to keep it attached onto there for the entire game, the way that I understand it, and I think Collect had done an article on it before when James Wood's patch came up, at least on the MLB side, there is some pretty strict chain of custody involved on these. Essentially, the way that I understood it, for the baseball side of things, is the equipment manager puts it on the jersey and it stays on the jersey for the entire game. They pull it off and then it goes into the hands of some sort of authentication specialist, is tagged with one of those MLB game use tags, little sticker things that they use. And I think they use those in other sports as well, that then essentially associates, that authentication sticker with that patch. And then it kind of goes through, the Topps workflow and gets back to Topps/Fanatics. And it's verified that that is indeed the one that was on the player. And like I said, in this case, it's just a little bit of a curveball with a different sport. And maybe this is one of those things that no one really thought about, or it was happening in the moment and they're like, oh God, what just happened? We have multiple patches all of a sudden. So we'll see how this all plays out. I'll be curious to see what the reaction is around this. I am slightly annoyed, but I am not pitchfork and torches on this one. I'm sure people will say in the comments that I'm shilling for Topps or Fanatics or something. I frankly don't care. I'll probably never own one of these cards. I'll never buy one of these cards. I can't afford them. And I don't know that the people that do, how much they'll really care about this. Nothing is inaccurate. It is a patch that was worn during their debut game. And it was on there for, at least in this case, probably for the first half. I guess we don't know that for sure. But spoilers, Topps Chrome update boxes or whatever, we don't know what product these are going to be in yet, are still going to sell for a crap ton of money. And there's still going to be a absolutely huge chase for these. I don't know. Does this taint the Cooper Flagg debut patch in your eyes? Is this all of a sudden, are you going to side eye this little patch and be like, oh, no, that was only worn for a half? Obviously, my preference would be that it's on there for the entire game. It should be. But they're going to have to adjust something if they want that to happen. And we'll see what goes on with the NFL as well, because this could be a similar problem there. I'm sure this is something that they're working through. But like I said at the top, did this happen with anybody else? This is the one that we know about. And also, how big of a deal is it? It's not a good look. I just don't know how big of a deal this actually is. I'll be curious for your thoughts and comments down below on this one. Catch you on the next one. Peace.